I'm ready to begin creating the HTML document to support this project. I'm going to be doing that in Dreamweaver CS 5.5. That's the software that I have. Any version of Dreamweaver back to probably Dreamweaver 3 will allow you to do all of the skills that we're covering. They may be found in a slightly different place though. So if you're not using this same exact version, don't worry about it. Just be a little more creative in hunting for where these things might be. I'm creating a new file, so File, New. I need a blank page of HTML, and I don't want any kind of pre-existing file structure, so I will choose Layout, None, and Create. Before I do anything, before I worry about creating a style sheet or bringing my tracing image in or starting in general, I want to save my file. And on my desktop earlier I had created a folder for this project called Sugar Record, so I want to make sure that I'm targeting that folder for saving. I'll call this index.html. Generally the very first home page, if you will, of any project should be called index. Make sure that you have access to your properties panel. If you don't see that, look up underneath the window menu, and properties is here. It might not be in the same spot. I prefer my properties to be horizontal, kind of hanging out at the bottom. Yours might be in a different spot, and that's fine. The page property button will give you access to many of the features that will affect an entire document, including the tracing image. In the tracing image category, I'm going to be able to click Browse and navigate back out to where I saved the snapshot of the entire composition. That was what we did in the very first step. So if you're kind of jumping into these movies sort of mid movie, this is not a mandatory step, but if you're trying to match a layout and you don't want to have to guess where things were, this is kind of a cool step that you can take. You can see the graphic is simply the entire composition. You can choose that. At any point I can hit apply just to see how things are going. One of the things that you'll notice is you have a transparency slider. I am able to decrease the transparency. Sometimes this is helpful as you're building your HTML and your CSS on top of this. You can tell what is the real component versus what is the tracing image. I'm going to keep the transparency at 100%, however. Doing that will allow me to choose actual colors right from this composition, so that I know I'm getting the right orange, for example, and the right green as I'm building in my CSS. Another thing you may notice is that there's a default amount of space at the top and on the sides. I want to make sure that I'm starting out building my composition all the way at the top and in the left, even though I know eventually I'll probably center this entire composition. So while I'm here in the page properties, I will go to the Appearance CSS, and in my margins, I'm just going to enter zeros for the left, right, top, and bottom, and any default margin inherent to the HTML will be eliminated. As soon as I've done that, if you're working in kind of the same mode that I'm working in this split view where I can see my code and I can see my design view, Dreamweaver has begun creating a style sheet for me. The margins for the body of my document have now been all set to 0. I also see that I have the body tag of my document. I have this sort of Dreamweaver only piece of code in here, tracing image, sugar record GIF, and the fact that the opacity is at 100%. When my document is built, when I'm finished with the HTML, I will want to go in and either strip this out of the body tag or go back to my tracing image and delete it here. This is not something that will be uploaded. That's it. We have our tracing image in place and we're ready to go.